You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, guys, I always thought I would age gracefully. I was one of those people who said, I am going to embrace my natural beauty in all seasons of life. And then I saw myself in the Target self-checkout camera. I did not even recognize myself. I was sitting there scanning my candle and the 12 other things I did not go there to buy. And I was like, oh, oops, oops, the wrong camera is connected to my little screen. We have a little mistake, because what I'm seeing in this camera is an elderly vampire who is also shopping here at Target today. Just a little mix-up, I understand. Yeah, a real elderly vampire who has the same taste in candles as I do. When I realized it was me, it's like, okay, adding a paper bag to the order. That's when I knew I'm not going to age gracefully, I'm going to age expensively. I ran down to the nearest cosmetic spa, threw my entire wallet at them, and said, fix this. They showed me an entire menu of options, and I said yes. And the gal said, she said, you know, well, one of these procedures is actually about to be banned by the FDA. And I was like, well, we'd better hurry then. So they did all the things. One of the things hit a nerve, and half of my face was completely paralyzed. For the first 3 months of this year, whatever you are imagining, it was worse. It was a real Quasimodo situation. I looked like a wax figure that had been left next to a heater. It was, yes. You should see your faces. You guys are so shocked by this. Yeah, it was so bad, guys. It was so bad. And I went to my husband. I was like, oh, look at me. Look. Oh. He was like, baby, you are still funny. Some people were very judgy about it. One lady said, Jen, do you think maybe God is trying to teach you a lesson about vanity? I was like, well, he is definitely trying to teach me a lesson about not buying laser treatment on Groupon. Yeah, for sure. I couldn't close my right eye. I had to wear an eye patch. My esthetician really hated having me in her waiting room. That was not, yeah, she was like, I would look at the other patients like, this place is great, She was like, can you just tell people you're a pirate? This is like really bad for business. It got so bad that I had to go see a specialist in essential oils. Yeah, I have this friend. She's a little too confident in her MLMs, essential oils. She's, you know, like we'll read a news article like, scientists have discovered a deadly new disease. It is a combination of scabies and Ebola. And she'll be like, our eucalyptus blend could cure that. So I called her up and I was like, all right, let's see what those little bottles can do. She gave me the works, like just did the whole thing, and it didn't work. But I smelled amazing. I smelled so good. And finally, after all of this, she was like, I'm starting to think that essential oils aren't going to cure this. She was like, you need crystals. After that, I went to a face physical therapist. Yes, they exist. I did like 4 weeks of this face workout, like doing all these facial expressions. And that worked. And then I was running around telling everybody, like, face physical therapy, guys, this is a thing and it's amazing. And my essential oils friend was like, well, the eucalyptus oil I put on, it was extended release. So I think we know which one solved that, yeah. So, I should have known not to do this because I have bad luck with cosmetic stuff. Like a couple years ago, I tried Botox for the first time, and it froze my face like more than it should have, like way more than it should have. I could not move my face at all. And at this time, my husband and I got in a really big fight. It was a big fight. And at the end of it, he was like, "I'm just so glad you're not mad." That's when I was done with Botox. Somebody said, your husband, he's very frugal. I bet he's happy that this thing happened with your face now that it's resolved because, maybe you'll be spending less money on that kind of stuff now. No, he knows that I'm undaunted because a while back he sent me an article that said the most expensive brands of mascara are made out of bat guano. He said, when you figure out what that is, you'll be spending a lot less money on that. I said, I know exactly what it is. And if I thought it would make me look better, I would eat bat guano. I said, and thank you for letting me know what brands of mascara I should be looking for. Those bats are doing a great job, eating some real organic superfoods, evidently. So my husband does say I spend too much money. Men are so silly. My husband thinks he knows about finance because he has a graduate degree in finance. But he has not watched one TikTok on abundance mentality. Okay, abundance mentality is where you feel like you have tons of money and you act like you have tons of money and you spend like you have tons of money. And then your subconscious starts to believe that you have tons of money, and then you're driving a Lamborghini. And don't ask a bunch of over-analytical questions. Like my husband comes in with all these over-analytical comments. Like there is absolutely no proof that anything works that way. And that influencer who you learned this from, he does not live in a mansion. That's a green screen. He lives in his car. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. So he showed me our recent credit card statement. And he said, look at all of these charges. And I said, no, look at all of these signals to my subconscious that I'm a wealthy woman. He was like, you're not a wealthy woman. I was like, well, I won't be with that kind of scarcity mentality. And I said, by the way, I need you to move out of the way. I think I hear the Amazon truck backing into our driveway. And he's going to need a lot of help unloading this one. Got a lot of work to do today. I didn't think this was going to be my life because my husband went to Yale. When people hear that, they're like, oh, Yale, okay, so you do have a little money. You'd think. You'd think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we started dating, I thought this was going to be a real Ulta to Sephora upgrade. What I did not realize is that he is a Texas country boy at heart, so it has turned out to be more of a Trader Joe's to Bass Pro situation. Yeah. He says all this stuff like, what do you really need in life other than a dog and a good sunset and a cold beer. It's a real redneck Zen moment, like lovely. Yeah, he said the other day, he's like, what would we even need to be happy that money could even buy? I was like, Is that rhetorical or can I jump in? Do you want the list alphabetized, categorized, or should we just pull up my Pinterest board? Like I have it right here. Like we can just look at that. And I should have known that I was getting into like a real country family when I met his mother, my mother-in-law. Wonderful woman. Okay. In order to tell you about her, I have to quote her directly. And I will need to say one cuss word because if you have ever known someone who comes from a very, very rural background, a lot of times for the way they talk, there's really not an English translation. You have to quote them directly. So I keep my comedy clean, but I have to say one curse word here to quote her. So just put on your protective ear covering, if you don't want to hear that. So women have 2 biological clocks, one for children, one for grandchildren. When I started dating her son, and she was past due for grandchildren, so she would call us every week and say, "Y'all need to shit or get off the pot." That is Texan speak for, I would be simply delighted if the 2 of you would engage in the holy sacrament of matrimony. She'd call him, she'd call me, "Jennifer, y'all need to," just like all the time. Then 2 years went by. We were not engaged. I did not have a ring. At that point, she called me and was like, "Jennifer, I don't think he's gay." So finally, 2.5 years into our relationship, he proposed. It was like a moment out of a movie. It was the beautiful scene out of my wildest dreams. And he called his mother and he said, "Ma, we decided to shit." This is the family I married into. So when we did start having kids, my mother-in-law was so excited, and she was such a big help. But I did have to get used to her way of doing things. I mean, she grew up in East Texas so poor, they did not have running water in her house growing up. She had just a real different way of doing things, different culture. She had more than one friend named Skeeter. And that was their government name, like on their birth certificate. And so she decided at one point that she was like, you got to get these kids potty trained. She'd call and she'd have me put the phone on speakerphone, and she'd always tell my kids, like, "You got a TT in the pot, you got a TT in the pot." She was always telling somebody to get on a pot, get off a pot. I don't know, that was just her thing. So, and I said, yes, oh, good. I have been reading the parenting experts on the beauty of child-led potty training. I'm going to send you a book on it so that you can educate yourself about the gentle art of child-led potty training. It's very big in Sweden, that this is what we're doing. I'd fallen in with a bad crowd. Montessori. I sent her the book. She used it to kill a spider. And she said, "Jennifer, we're not messing around with any of that nonsense. We're gonna get this done." So she comes up to visit, and it was. I mean, My oldest was 3, and he was a very verbal child. It is weird when someone can give you a soliloquy about why they don't want to TT in the pot. It was time. So she came to visit. She's like, we're going to have this done by the end of the weekend. And I said, no, you're not. I don't know what country ways, you think you know, but I've been trying to do this for years. It's not going to work, but you can try. So she showed up. Now, when my mother-in-law showed up at my house, it was always like the circus and the SWAT team were showing up at the same time. So she shows up, she's kicking my door. Like she's kicking it. I open the door, well, she had her hands full. One hand, she's on the phone, she's yelling at someone. In the other hand, she has a potty chair that seemed to be used. And so I had so many questions. First, like, who is she on the phone with? Well, it turns out she had gotten our mayor's personal cell phone number. And so she's yelling at him about the potholes in the city. This is just unacceptable and all that. So she throws this old potty chair down. She's like, you need to TT in the pot. Not you, Mayor. Finally, after accepting his apology, she hangs up on him. And so she starts yelling at the kids, all right, let's go, put your big boy pants on, we're TTing in the pot. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Where did you get this potty chair? She's like, I got that from Doris at the square dance hall. I said, I didn't think your friend Doris had kids. She's like, no, she keeps it in her pickup truck because the lines for the bathrooms they're terrible. She's like, this is much nicer than the slop jars we had back in the day. This is fancy. I'm staring at this potty chair, just trying to wrap my mind around the fact that this was used by an adult. She sees me staring at it and is like, Jennifer, you can't have it for your minivan. We have to give it back. Now, friends, I can only tell you what happened next now that many years have passed, and that I can assure you that everyone involved in what I am about to say next, they're okay. Everyone is okay. We're all psychologically okay. So my son hated his big boy pants. He just didn't like the feel of it. So that was his big resistance to potty training. I hate my big boy pants. So she put him in his big boy pants, and he did what he always did every time. He throws himself down. He's like, I hate my big boy pants. I take off my big boy pants. And I'm like, see, every time. My mother-in-law unbuttoned her jeans, dropped them to the floor, put her hands on her big old granny panties, and said, if you take off your big boy pants, I'm gonna take off my big girl pants. He was potty trained from that day forward. I should sell a masterclass called The Fulwiler Country 2-Minute Potty Training Miracle. The only thing is you'd have to sign a non-disclosure agreement not to ever speak about what you learned in this class. My husband is this weird combination of backgrounds because he's a grammar person. Do you know they correct people's grammar? But he's also a country boy. Have you ever been corrected on your use of the past participle by somebody holding a Pabst Blue Ribbon? It's a very strange experience. It's weird. Yeah. So, but these grammar people, if you've ever met one, they can't not They can't not correct bad grammar. When they hear it, it's a form of Tourette's. They can't stop. They think they're better than us. 100% someone just whispered, better than we. It's way better than we are. My husband could be trapped in a burning building. And if someone ran up to him and said, want me to tell you where the exit's at? His obituary would read, he died doing what he loved. Lecturing people about not ending sentences in a preposition. One time, we were in a fight. And I said, well, I guess if I was like your ex-girlfriend, then I'd be perfect. He said, it's if you were. He went on to inform me that it's the subjunctive. It's the subjunctive. The men are visibly uncomfortable hearing this story. The courage, right? The courage. You could put that man on one of those Daredevil Fear Factor shows, you know? They'd be like, well, for the second to last act, we just had a guy. He just was on a motorcycle and he jumped over 15 junkyard cars that were on fire, you know, whatever. For the grand finale, we will see if this man survives as he corrects his wife's grammar when she's already furious. True death-defying moment there. But no, my house it's chaos. I have to admit, my house is kind of chaos. I'm not good at the domestic stuff, like really any of it. I did not know this about myself when I had my first child. I did what we all do. I was like, oh, I am going to make a beautiful home for our little family. I think I might go for like a shabby chic motif. You have one or two more kids, it's just shabby. You stop asking why the couch is wet again. You're like, oh, and also like, I have to have a little bit of housekeeping help, like a maid service that comes a couple times a month. This is not about privilege. This is not about money. This is about, if I didn't do it, it would be court ordered. There is no level of poor that I could get to that I would not have like a maid service, like no level. I mean, I could be homeless. Living under a bridge with the other homeless people. We're warming our hands over a fire in a trash can, and someone steps on a crack pipe and shatters it. And I'd be like, don't even worry about it, the housekeepers are coming tomorrow. I love being a mom. I just think that my generation was not prepared for it. we were not prepared at all. Because I'm Gen X. I'm Generation X. We were latchkey kids. I mean, we would let ourselves into our empty houses alone after a long day of kindergarten. We'd microwave some SpaghettiOs, turn on Motley Crue, prank call Blockbuster. It was good, clean fun. It was a lovely childhood, but like, it didn't teach us anything about responsibility, about parenting. This is what a mess Gen X parenting Gen Z is. The other night, I wanted to make sure that my kids were asleep, but I didn't want to move. So what I did, I posted to my Instagram stories, and then I looked at who watched them. When I saw my daughter's profile pop up, I DM'd her and told her to go to sleep. But then she sent me a really funny video, and so we were both up for like 2 more hours. You guys are great, though. A round of applause for yourselves for coming out. I really appreciate it. You're great. This venue is great. But I mean, even if you weren't, honestly, it'd still be better than where I practice my comedy back home in Austin. And I don't mean to come all the way out here and talk trash about where I'm from, but that place, it's terrible, guys. I mean, the crowds are so rude. They don't appreciate good comedy at all. The lighting is horrible. It's BYOB. It's called the Austin Independent School District Board Meeting. Just when I get to the best part of my set, they take the mic out of my hand and ask me to leave. It's crazy. I am Catholic. That is not normally the response I get when I say that. I was not raised Catholic. I was raised in a nice atheist family. When I converted, I wrote about it on a blog. And that blog went viral, and all the internet atheists found it. My inboxes were full of messages from these guys saying, "This is pathetic. You're pathetic." They said, "You know what it is? You're weak." They said, "You're weak and you need your life to be easy, and that's why you did this." I said, "You think that I was desperate for my life to be really easy, and my solution to that was to get really involved in the Roman Catholic Church?" Being Catholic has mainly given me more ways to fail as a mother. For those of you guys who aren't Catholic, it's just craziness. It is not just Christmas and Easter when you're Catholic. There's Advent, there's Lent, there's some random saint's feast day. There's all the influencers like, "I once heard of a woman who didn't celebrate her child's baptism day." Like, it's so much. It's so much more than just like Christmas and Easter. In atheism, we just had Shark Week. I tried. I mean, I did try. I tried to like do it right. Like the first holiday season that we were Catholic, I bought this statue. It was about this tall of baby Jesus and Mary and Joseph, and it was so cute. And I put it on my mantle, and I was like, I am winning Catholicism. Some of us kind of have it together. We stored it in the attic. My house is chaos. And I heard the box coming down the attic. The next Christmas, I hear bang, 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 smash. We had knocked off Joseph's head. We can't have nice things. So that year, I put up my statue of baby Jesus and Mary and John the Baptist. Anyone who's not laughing at that joke has not read their Bible in a very long time. If you didn't get that joke, ask your friend that's going to heaven. One of my favorite things about being Catholic is that when I am being a whole disaster, and people try to hold me accountable, I can accuse them of religious persecution. So Lent always occurs early in the year, February or March, and that is never enough time for me to get my Christmas lights down. So this year, when I got the annual cease and desist letter from the Homeowners Association saying, "Take down your Christmas lights," I was like, "Oh, you mean my Lent lights?" I said, "I am Catholic. I just put these up." I explained, "We leave them turned off to symbolize the darkness of sin." The president of my homeowners association was like, "Jen, we go to the same church. Would you please shut up? Just take down your Christmas lights." Another lady at church took me aside and told me that I need to be more of a Proverbs 31 woman. Have you heard of this? It's a movement based on, of course, Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 says something like, this woman, a good woman, brings in food from afar to bless her family. She speaks respectfully to all she encounters. She is wise with the coins her husband gives her. She said, "You need to be more of a Proverbs 31 woman." I said, "There are other Bible verses." Psalm 64, for example. "God shall smite my enemies in my sight and lay a table of vengeance before me." I'm a Psalm 64 woman. Less housework, more vengeance. We've traveled with the kids quite a bit. Notice I did not say took vacations. When you travel with kids, it is just taking the chaos of your house and relocating it to a place that's not equipped to deal with it. And it's just, and then we've got quite a few kids, and you can only have like 4 kids in a hotel room, and my husband is so cheap that it became like, all right, who's gonna hide in the closet when the manager comes? And we tried to get rooms like way far away from everything, but one time we got a room, it was right across from the front desk. So see, I thought ahead. I had matching outfits for some of my girls. They're close in age, matching swimsuits and everything. So I took an older daughter to the pool, but then I'm coming back with the younger daughter. I could see the front desk manager kind of counting, like, now wait. So what you got to do in these situations is you got to get out ahead of it. So I turned to him and I'm like, "Your pool shrunk my daughter." But it was one of these trips that was like completely chaotic, and my husband had saved a beer for himself that that was going to be his treat at the end of the trip. He forgot a bottle opener. We were new Catholics, and I was wearing my St. Benedict medal. He said, "Hand me that medal." I was like, "Oh, you know what? Yes, prayer instead of alcohol." Yes. He took poor little St. Benedict. He wedged this medal up on like the side of a counter, put it under the beer bottle cap, goes bang, 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 pop. It came right off. He's like, "That is a miracle of St. Benedict right there." And if anyone has any connections at the Vatican, he wants it stated for the record that if he has ever canonized a saint, he wants his medal to double as a bottle opener. I also travel for this quite a bit, and I had an incident a while back that I think it's what got me into the cosmetic stuff, because I was performing at a convention center where everyone stayed in the same place. And so for my performance, I put on all the makeup. When you hit your 40s, it's in order to look good, you start putting on a level of makeup that you're like, do I qualify for RuPaul's Drag Race? Like, it's a lot. So I did that for the performance. The next day, just like no makeup. I'm tired. Like I look in the mirror, like maybe the Target self-checkout cameras are right. Like this is terrible. So I was looking a little homeless, if we're being honest. So I get in the elevator. 3 ladies who had been at the conference also got in the elevator. They looked me up and down. And one of them said, "Oh my, you're as tall as our comedian from last night." I thought we were in on a little joke. I'll play along. I said, "I hear she was fabulous." That's when I knew they didn't know. Another one said, "We didn't like her at all." I said, "Well, why?" The other one said, she was a filthy comic. She was filthy. I didn't even tell the shitter got off the pot joke. I'm thinking, are you guys characters from Footloose? In what world am I a filthy comic? I'm just sitting there thinking about this. And they left before I had a chance to get any questions answered. But then I sat there and I was like, wow, how bad do I look without makeup? If not 1, not 2, but 3 people were in very close proximity to me, called to mind the comedian they had seen performing about 10 yards that way just the night before, and they were like, this must be the other 6-foot-tall albino redhead. And I guess they were like, and we are just so grateful that this bridge troll is a safe space to talk about how much we hated the hot woman from last night. I like that I get to travel to do this. One time I was in a city for a show, and Taylor Swift's Eras tour was there, so I got to go to the Eras tour, which was very exciting. I did say, all right, we got a couple other Swifties. Yes, okay, oh yes, yeah. All right, this set is Taylor's version, just so you know. You guys weren't supposed to laugh at that. That was an inside joke for me and the Swifties. But no, I love a good Taylor Swift breakup song. Love it. And people are like, Jen, you've been married 20 years. What do you care about a breakup song? Oh, I'll tell you. Because when you get to be my age, you've had a few female friend breakups. That is devastation. Man, you lose the love of a man and you take a little time for self-care and you're fine. You lose the love of a woman and you take drugs. It's a hard, painful loss. And so at the time that I went to the Eras tour, I had lost, I'd ended the friendship with a very dear friend of mine. And it was actually on her end. She ended it. She just kind of ghosted me, and I didn't know why. And it was a big loss, because this was one of those girlfriends who could hype you up no matter how much of a mess you're being. I could have called her and been like, I slept too late again. She'd be like, self-care queen. I could be like, well, it's because I was hungover. She'd be like, party icon. There was no end to this. Man, I could have called this girl and been like, I have been arrested for multiple counts of felony arson. She would have been like, they hate to see a girl boss setting the world on fire. It was a terrible loss. And so I was there at the Eras tour. Taylor Swift hit one of her most gut-wrenching breakup songs, like the hardest part of it. All Too Well, 10-minute version, 8 minutes in for the Swifties. Yes, yes. I am sobbing like makeup. Oh, I was a mess. Like my face looked all crazy and it wasn't even paralyzed. It was like, eyes. Oh, I was like, Susan, how could you? And the little girls in glitter next to me were like, that lesbian is very angry. My husband is very cheap, but sometimes I can get him to take us to some nice places, like if it's a special occasion. So for our 20th anniversary, I said, I want to go somewhere really nice, okay? I want to go somewhere really nice, and do not tell me that you have points at the Holiday Inn, okay? And he was like, oh, I would never, but then I see him scratching something off, just so he did well. He took us to a nice resort in Waco, Texas. Okay. So I have learned that people have strong associations with the town of Waco, Texas. Okay, and I know they told you, they're like, don't talk, she's recording a special, but now you can't. Shout out, what do you associate with Waco, Texas? Okay, so okay. What I was going for was Joanna Gaines. But half the people shouted Branch Davidians. Okay. And for those of you guys who don't know, the Branch Davidians was one, like a long time ago. The FBI came in and made the Branch Davidians headquarters a much more open concept space. But that is not what we're here to talk about. So I also associate Waco, Texas with Joanna Gaines. And okay, so we're there at this nice resort. Sure enough, straight out of my vision board, I look over, like from me to that table right there, it is Joanna Gaines and her whole family. And I'm like, oh. My husband was like, don't do anything that you're about to do. I said, what, the confidence, please. I said, look, I'm just going to go over and tell her that God means for us to be friends. Like, not in a creepy way, in a factual way. I said, look, I'm not going to put any pressure on her at all. I have it all planned out. Like, I'm going to walk up to her and I'm going to say, Joanna, you are a mom with a thriving career in the entertainment industry. I'm a mom also. And I was going to leave it up to her, like, should your kids start calling me Auntie Jen right now, or should we wait till you get the check? It's whatever. Like, I am comfortable with really whatever. He said, do not do any of that. You will get tasered. I said, no, they're not traveling with security or anything. He's like, no, I'll taser you. Yeah. All of his naysaying made me miss my big moment, and they got up and left. And I'm like, should I chase after them? Would that be weird? Like, so I let them go. But that night, there was a comet that was visible, and there was a lake on this property. So we went down to the dock by the lake to see the comet, and I'd researched this, so I'd spotted it like right away. And then I noticed there was a man and a boy were out there too. and I realized it was Chip Gaines. I realized this not from eavesdropping, but from focused listening. I could tell that they had not found the comet. So I was like, oh, pardon me, random stranger. I noticed that you guys haven't found the comet. Would you like for me to point it out to you? And he's like, oh, thank goodness. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm like, yeah, it's right there. And I said, so it's kind of cool. This comet only comes by once every 6,000 years. So it's kind of a cool moment that we're sharing. And he said, I'm so glad you're here. He said, my wife was just out here. Like, wife, you say? Like, he said, my wife was just out here and was wondering about this. He's like, I need to get her out here. Do you know more about this comet? I was like, so much more. My husband was standing there. I could read his mind. He was sitting there thinking, okay, everything you just heard, she learned from one tweet, and we are now at the end of her knowledge. She knows literally nothing else about this comet. I was not going to let him stop me with the truth. So their son turned to me and said, wow, are you an astronomer? I was like, no, we prefer the term astrophysicist. So Chip says, like, it might take my wife a second to get down here, but go on, like, we can catch her up when she gets here. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, so much to say. What isn't there to say about this comet? It's like, oh, okay. Guys, I was like a kid doing a book report who didn't even buy the book, like, hadn't even seen the Cliff's Notes. I was filling like no one has ever filled before. It was, I think I was pulling in terms from the Marvel universe. I think so. Chip was obviously onto me because he did this big production of like, look at the time. We got to go. He wasn't wearing a watch. It was weird. And I could tell that I think he texted Joanna. When someone's texting and you can tell it's about you? He's like, really? Okay. And I'm sure they have like a secret emoji code for when a stalker is around, Like probably 3 of those little siren things and like a knife or something. So he got himself and his son to safety quickly. And I never met Joanna. But I feel like she probably thinks of me a lot. Because she has got to lie awake at night wondering who on earth told her son that comets always orbit the Earth 6 times when they're made of shiplapium. Joanna, that was me. So my husband is so cheap that we do not fly together when we travel. We take separate flights because we cannot get on the same page about what proper air travel should look like. He flies, like the $39 discount airline, like they advertise $39, but then there are all of these add-ons for like whatever. If you don't want a middle seat, or if you don't want them to punch you in the face, it's another $60. But he always gets them to stick to the advertised $39 because he travels with no luggage. I do not mean a fanny pack. I don't mean a man purse. I mean 0 luggage. He layers his clothes. He'll wear these cargo pants with all these pockets. He'll put a cell phone charger and a toothbrush in his pocket and be like, done packing. He washes his clothes in the hotel sink and hangs them out to dry like we are mountain people. When he first started doing this, I walked into the hotel and he was like, all like, he's got this hoodie on and all this. And I'm like, what are you doing? We have a formal event to go to. He ripped off his hoodie and underneath was a suit. He's like, I'm ready. And by the way, all the men who were dragged here tonight by their wives, they are sitting there thinking, I didn't know this lady's set was going to be so full of good ideas. I have a totally different philosophy. Like, when I told my priest that I've been doing a lot of ministry with the poor, I just meant I kept getting put in boarding group 5. So one time we had a trip coming up where he would just need too many changes of clothes. And I was like, they're going to get you. They're going to get you. You are going to have to carry on a bag. Even if you go full Michelin Man, there's no way. You can't layer enough for this one. So they're going to get you. And by the time that you have all of the, all the fees that they're going to charge you, you'll end up paying the same as if you were flying a real airline like me. And I'll try very hard not to say I told you so. So I walked into our room one day, and he had ripped open a neck pillow. He was stuffing it with clothes, just stuffing all these clothes in there. I walk in, he's like, only God can judge me. I was like, oh, he's judging you. He puts on his neck pillow, heads down to his flight, and it was like he had an 18-wheeler tire around his neck. Of course, the flight attendant stopped him and was like, nice try, but sir, if I could get your credit card, we have actually an $80 carry-on fee, so if you could just hand me your credit card. He had screenshotted the FAA regulations. You know how you can screenshot with a highlight in it? He screenshotted the highlight. He's like, if you will please turn to section 3.2.1a, it says that the FAA says that you cannot count a neck pillow as a carry-on, and there is no size limitation. She was like, get on the plane. And I know that as he walked down the aisle of that plane to his middle seat in row 48, I know that every passenger on that plane was like, they were like, this is the Spirit Airlines final boss. So you can imagine that he and I have very different ideas about how to upgrade our house, like make it a little nicer now that our kids are getting older, make it I love Joanna Gaines and Magnolia Magazine. And do you ever look at the magazine or the Instagram account and you think, oh, if I just had a little more time, a little more money, and an entirely different personality, my home could look just like this. So I had this vision for our backyard that I was like, oh, we're going to have a magnolia backyard. It's going to be beautiful. I had the Pinterest board. And then one day my husband called me. He was out of town. I had 4 missed calls and an all caps text that said, call me right now. It's an emergency. So I was like, oh, what's going on? What's the emergency? He said, Our Walmart has inflatable hot tubs on sale for $249. We will never see a deal like this again. You have to go get it now. They only have one left. My first question was like, how does he know? He was out of town. Like, does he have a guy at Walmart who's texting him these things? I said, hold up. I said, dear husband of mine, in all of these years that we've had these children and all of the financial ups and downs that have come with it, we have been teetering on the very razor's edge of being fully white trash. And I would like to not go completely into that territory by having a blow-up discount Walmart hot tub on my back porch. He was like, please, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You have to go get it. I said, okay, I'll make a deal. I'll make a deal with you. I said, I'll go get it. You can have it up for 3 days. You can enjoy this thing for 3 days, and then we will deflate it just like my dreams of having a classy household. So I go to Walmart. It is at the very back of the store. Indeed, there was only one left. This box was so massive. I don't know what I expected. It was bigger than that. So I'm trying to pull this box down. It almost crushes me. I'm like, that is the way I would die, like crushed by a Walmart hot tub box. You guys, it wouldn't even fit in my cart. It was like diagonal, like sticking up taller than me. So I had to push this all the way back through the store. This massive box functioned as a sort of bat signal for all of the Walmart hot tub people that were there that day. They wanted to talk to me about it. They thought it was for me. This guy runs up to me and he's like, oh, listen, over on aisle 12, there's a koozie attachment. You're gonna wanna put that on, you get some beers in there, you're gonna be in business. Like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. I interrupted him. I said, sir, I am not an ally to your community. I said, this is not for me. I am buying this for my associate. So I finally get this thing home. My husband gets home. He gets it all inflated. He gets it to the temperature he likes. He gets the bubbles going. He found some old rusty TV tray out in the yard that he pulled up. He put a plate of nachos on his TV tray. He cracked open a beer. I looked at him and I was like, he has taken his final form. Then I snapped out of it and I was like, okay, 3 days. Don't forget, 3 days. And then this thing is gone. As luck would have it, I threw out my back the next day. I had a horrible strain in my back. And I was walking around like, man, that hurts. This is terrible. And it was just awful. And my husband was like, you know what might help with that? I said, no, not your stupid hot tub. Like, absolutely not. But it was getting worse and worse. Finally, on like the third day, I was like, this is pretty bad. I said, okay, you know what? I'll try your stupid hot tub, but just to show you, it's like not going to do anything. So I got in the hot tub, and it was so warm. And you know, the fact that it's inflatable actually made it really soft. And I'm like, oh yeah, $249, you said? The bubbles went right up. Man, they loosened up my back, I was like, this, I feel incredible. Long story short, I was at Walmart last week and I saw a guy getting one of these and I was like, listen, over on aisle 12, thank you so much, Denver. You've been amazing.